Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back to our channel, the Eaton Squad. My name is Eddie. So in today's video is actually good news. This is regards to the travel ban countries, the 10 countries that were on travel ban. And also there will be some new implementation from the IATF on the ruling for travel restriction classifications. We will talk about that on this video. Details coming right up. So the good news is the travel ban to 10 countries will be lifted on September 6 of 2021. That's on Monday. So those countries that were on travel ban for quite a while is finally lifted starting Monday. So these are India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, United Arab Emirates, Oman, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So travelers coming from this country will now be allowed to enter the Philippines, but only those who are permitted to enter the Philippines at the moment. So if you are not part of the permitted travelers to the Philippines coming from these countries that I mentioned, unfortunately, you guys are still suspended to enter the Philippines until further notice. So I hope we are clear on that, because I got some messages that, hey, since the travel ban is going to be lifted on Monday, are we now allowed to enter the country? If you are one of the permitted travelers to enter the Philippines, then yes. But if you are one of those who are not permitted to enter the Philippines yet, then no. So currently, the permitted travelers to the Philippines are Filipino citizens, dual citizens, former Filipinos or balikbayans, foreign nationals on 9A, 13A, and SRRV visa holders. So outside of those categories are not permitted to enter the Philippines at the moment until further notice. So that's really good news that the travel ban to these 10 countries are finally lifted. But we also have new rulings from the IATF with regards to the travel restriction classifications. As we all know about the green list, now the IATF is going to adopt the yellow and the red list as well. So we will talk about the yellow and the red list. Who are allowed to enter, what quarantine protocols you have to go through, arrival protocols, and who cannot enter if you belong to a particular classification. I will also bring up the green list classification just to make everybody understand with this new travel rule or travel restriction from the IATF in adoption of the yellow and red list. So let's talk about the yellow list. Who are allowed to enter when you are under the yellow list, or what they so-called moderate risk countries? Granted, they have not really announced the list of these countries, what countries belong to the yellow list, what countries belong to the red list, because we already have the countries that belongs to the green list. I will have that on separate video. But to understand more this new classification approved by the IATF, so here are the approved travelers from the yellow list and the arrival and quarantine protocols for the yellow list. So for the yellow list countries, inbound international travelers, regardless of their vaccination status, coming from or with history within the last 14 days prior to their arrival in the Philippines from yellow countries may be allowed to enter if within the allowable classes and subject to the testing and quarantine protocols to be implemented by the Bureau of Quarantine. So who are allowed to enter from the yellow list? These are the following: Filipinos, balikbayans, and aliens with valid and existing visa are allowed to enter. The entry of tourists is unfortunately still suspended until further notice. So if you are coming from the yellow list, you have to undergo 10 days mandatory quarantine in a hotel or facility. Then after you have rendered the 10 days, you will continue your 4 days quarantine at your home, monitored by your LGU. Your swab testing will be on the 7th day. On the other hand, for the red list countries, inbound international travelers, regardless of their vaccination status, coming from or who have been to red list countries shall not be allowed to enter. So unfortunately, if the IATF has already announced or has already posted the list from the red list countries, you will not be allowed to enter the Philippines, unfortunately. Whether you are a Filipino, whether you are a former Filipino, balikbayan, or foreign nationals with appropriate visas to enter the Philippines. But if coming from the red list, or if you have travel history for the last 14 days from the red list country, unfortunately, you guys are prohibited to enter the Philippines. So this is the new ruling of the IATF for the travel restriction classifications. That will start on September 6th. So who are exempted from entering the Philippines coming from the red list country? These are the following. Only Filipinos returning to the country via government-initiated repatriation, non-government initiated repatriation, and bayanihan flights may be allowed entry subject to the appropriate testing and quarantine protocols as set by the BOQ. So if you are coming from the red list country, and if the Philippine government has organized a repatriation flights, special flights, bayanihan flights, and you can get into it, you will be allowed entry into the Philippines, but you have to follow the arrival in quarantine protocol for this classification. So on the red list guidelines also, to those who will be allowed to travel to the Philippines under government repatriation, special flights, or bayanihan flights, your quarantine classifications will still be 14 days. 10 days will be spent in the hotel or facility. Then after 10 days, you will finish your 4 remaining days in your home, monitored by your LGU. Your swab testing will be on the 7th day. So for the green list country, travelers coming from the green list country will only have to undergo 7 days mandatory quarantine. This is if you are fully vaccinated already. Make sure that you have your vaccination card. And also those who were inoculated in the Philippines or they got their vaccination in the Philippines, you will be part of it. You will only undergo 7 days mandatory quarantine. Your swab test will be on the 5th day. The IATF has announced the revised list for green list country also today. So I will have a separate video on that. So we now await for the list of countries that will be on the yellow list and that will be on the red list. I'm really hoping USA will not be on the red list because that is the end of it. Can you imagine if the US will be on the red list? Any travelers coming from the US will not be allowed to enter the Philippines unless you will be one of those in bayanihan flights or special flights or government repatriation flights. So hopefully USA will not be part of it. And if you guys are interested on how they classify this country to be on the yellow and red list, I will post the link of the complete details of this announcement from the IATF in the description box. So let's hope and pray that US will not be part of the red list. I would take it if US will be part of the yellow list. At least travelers coming from the US are still able to enter the Philippines and just have to go through the arrival and quarantine protocol. So hopefully in the next few days or hopefully tomorrow or later today, they will post the countries who will be on the yellow list and the countries that who will be on the red list. But that is the new ruling from the IATF on the new travel restriction classifications to the Philippines, along with the travel ban being lifted from the 10 countries, which is India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And that is the latest travel updates to the Philippines. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you have more questions about this video, if you are confused on the new ruling, on the new travel restriction classification, don't hesitate to message me or leave your comment below, and I will answer it as soon as I can. Or if there is an urgency on your inquiry, you can message me through Facebook page or Instagram, same handle, the Eaton Squad. Maraming salamat! If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family whom you know that can use this video as reference. If you are new to our channel, welcome. We do travel updates, and if you are not a subscriber yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you will be notified on updates like this. And to our subscribers and new subscribers, thank you so much for the continued support and trust to our channel, the Eaton Squad. I hope to see you guys on our next travel update. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless everyone. Bye!